All right, everybody, welcome to the first 2021 P-Rep meeting. I think this is going to be a great meeting. We have great members of the community and P-Reps alike, and I'm looking forward to sharing this with the community. So I just wanted to let everybody involved know that if you have any ideas, if you have any concerns, or if you have any topics you want to discuss, we're all ears. And I think that it's crucial that we discuss openly and transparently for not only the community, but for other P-Reps and for the foundation as well. So I want to start with just a roll call. If there's anything that any P-Rep here wants to discuss specifically, is there anything that any of you want to begin with discussing?
I think to add on to that, it'd be great to kind of hear everyone's voices and just say, hello, I'm so-and-so, and I'm from this type of organization and X, Y, and Z. It'd be great too, because I'm new here. So I'd love to connect faces to names and I guess faces to voices, these types of things. Yeah,
absolutely.
So I'll start off because since I brought it up. So I'm the noob, as Monia said that I am. She's not wrong. I am the noob here. So Peter Saddington, glad to be here, guys. Cannot wait. We are already actively building and can't wait to release the announcements of the announcements. So thanks for inviting me, Corey. It's an honor to be here with you guys.
Thank you so much, Peter. I am Corey Costa, a former member of two P-Rep teams, Icon Vet and Ubic Capital, and now team member of Icon Mitos alongside Blaze. I've been an Icon ambassador, the first one. And we are avidly working on a gamified trading platform where you earn dividends called Epics, formerly known as Future ICX. And Blaze has been working tirelessly on this DApp, and we had a meeting last night, and it's absolutely beautiful. And I want to say thank you for all who are here.
I'll go next. This is Scott Smiley from ICX Station. Many of you know me as Benny Options, and I've been working on Icon in some capacity for almost 3 years now.
Cool.
Thanks, Scott. My name is Kevin. I go by Radio Friendly Online. I'm a member of the Icon Nation team. Most recently, our team, Spleen, has been working on a multi-sig wallet, which we think a lot of the P-Rep teams might be interested in once that's ready to go. And we're working on some other stuff too that we'll announce soon. Good to see everybody.
Anybody else want to introduce themselves?
Shall I go then?
Yeah, go.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Munya. I'm part of P-Rep Icon Plus. I'm standing in for Reda today, my team lead. And I'm responsible for the marketing and PR within our team. And Icon Plus covers the educational part, marketing, development, you name it, for Icon, on behalf of Icon. And we are quite active on Twitter, so I'm sure many people of you have seen us passing by on social media, to keep it short.
That's an understatement.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to waste too much time now, so yeah.
Anybody else want to introduce themselves, or do you want to just get into the ball rolling and regarding the CPS Fund, which I think is something that everybody wants to discuss? I think it's very important.
Yeah, I think that
I guess I can go quickly.
Yeah, you can go. Go ahead.
If no one else wants to go.
Sure.
Sorry, I can't really talk very loudly because there's a sleeping baby close to me. But I'm Brian from Rhizome. We're focused on content, and we build the metrics app. And right now we're looking into doing some proof of concepts with integrating blockchain into music copyright and stuff along those lines. It's not announced or anything, but I've been speaking with some people in the industry, and hopefully we'll have more news on that this year.
And Blaze, I saw that you, yeah.
Yeah, sure. So you guys probably know me as Blaze in the community. I'm a member of ICONists along with Corey. And what we have been working on is actually a trading platform, a gamified trading platform, which is aimed to teach like new traders and experienced traders how to like trade better in a gamified way, and also how to make more gains, of course. So yeah, pretty excited about that. We've been working on that for a year and a half, so we are getting pretty close to the release as well. So that'll be quite fun.
Awesome. Icon Guide Star, I see your mic is off. You want to say something?
Yeah. Hi, Corey. Hi, all. I'm Salman from ICONists, and basically we are focused on the Indian subcontinent and the kind of a marketing education P-Rep like Icon Plus. Not that big a team, but basically we focused on Hindi language as the first language, and recently we've started a YouTube channel with whiteboard animation, which trying to explain icon in simple terms to different concepts of icons in simple terms to new ICONists who are interested in cryptocurrency and stuff. We've got our first video out. I think Corey, you know about it.
Awesome. Okay, so I see that many people introduced themselves. So let's speak about the CPS Fund. The CPS Fund, I know, is going to be an entire overhaul of the reward system. And I think that one of the most important and crucial components of the Icon ecosystem going into 2021. And I think it's important to discuss ideas and initiatives that will assist in the ability to adapt to this CPS Fund and initiative, because this can, without beating around the bush, this can be an amazing overhaul of the ecosystem. But if we don't work together, it won't be as successful as it can be. So I think that one thing we can discuss, and if anybody has anything to say surrounding the CPS Fund, please, I'd like to hear it.
Sure. So I've been doing a little bit of testing on it. So far, so good. I've run into a couple issues that I reported to the IBRIS team, but no showstoppers, nothing major. Just some small stuff like if you go to submit a proposal and then you save your draft and go to reopen it, like maybe an image doesn't save or something like that. I've also been experiencing some issues with the time frame. Sometimes it is sometimes it's the voting time frame, and other times it's the proposal time frame. So you got to make sure you're kind of in sync with that, because if you register your rep to participate and you miss your voting time period, you can get hit with a slashing penalty. So if you are going to be registered and you are going to participate, you want to make sure to stay on the ball with that. Otherwise, that can wind up costing you and your team some ICX. I think it's somebody can keep me honest. I think it's 2,000 or 1,500, then 2,000, then 2,500, something like that as you accumulate strikes. But I think 2,000 or 2,500 is the max. So if you are going to register, just make sure to stay on the ball with it and make sure you're voting on proposals. And I think I saw the other day too that you can unregister without a penalty. So like if you or your team, you're not going to be available for a certain amount of time, I think you'd be able to unregister your P-Rep. That way you wouldn't incur any kind of penalty. The other thing I noticed recently on the forum was I think it was going to be mandatory for the top 22 teams to participate, and then that changed. It's now going to be open to the top 100 teams, but it's not mandatory for anybody to necessarily participate. So I think what we want to make sure that happens is that we have at least enough teams that are participating and signing up and voting and doing all that kind of stuff.
Thank you, Radio.
Yeah, just to jump in, and most of what you said was correct, but the what's it called? It's not necessarily a slashing penalty. It's like you get unregistered and then there's a fine, so you don't need to stake it. And if you feel that the CPS isn't working out for you, then and you don't want to manage it, then you just don't have to pay the fine, don't have to join. And I think it was 1,000 for the first fine, but I think we lowered it to 500.
Got it. So Scott, you wouldn't have to pay the penalty if you didn't want to keep participating.
Correct.
Okay, cool. Got it.
Yeah. So if you miss
Thanks,
a vote,
man.
then you get your first strike, and then you'll be unregistered and have to pay the 500 ICX reentry fee if you want to manage the CPS again. And also, like what you were saying about the periods, the reason you were experiencing that is because IBRIS was doing internal testing and kind of took over the periods. But when it's actually live, it'll be on, in terms of blocks every 2 weeks, it'll rotate. So you'll have plenty of time to submit proposals during the voting or during the submission period and vote on them during the voting period. And there'll also be email notifications that you can sign up for as both a P-Rep and an ICONist when you have your proposal is like accepted, or the sponsor accepted it, or if you are registered and you haven't voted on something, you'll get like an email with 1 week's notice to alert you that you still need to vote or you'll get unregistered.
Got it. So it's going to be like 2-week chunks. It's not like 24 hours voting, 24 hours.
Right.
Okay.
That would be like pretty unsustainable.
Right. That's a part that was kind of tough. So that's good. Thanks, Scott. Good to know.
Awesome. Anybody else want to bring up any discussion on the CPS fund?
I had a question for everyone out there as CPS began rolling out. This is part of my research of becoming a P-Rep. And for me, I saw this, and maybe I read it wrong, but I saw this as the next phase for ICON in terms of ensuring that funding from a decentralized mechanism will be, this will be the way that we do it in the future. Are you guys seeing this as essentially the core mechanism in which decentralized funding will happen for P-Reps, or is it going to be a combination of this and iScore and previous mechanisms?
Yeah, I'll just jump in there. I mean, I definitely think that kind of can be decided, will be decided by everybody when we decide inflation allocations closer to ICON 2.0 launch. Once we have more information about the cost of running an ICON node and things like that, we can make more informed decisions. But everyone in the top 22, as we get closer to ICON 2.0, will need to decide how we want to divide the inflation pie. If we want to divide the inflation pie and only put 1% of inflation in the CPS, then it's not going to be a core piece. If we decide as a network that we want 50% of new inflation to go towards the CPS, then that's going to be a very core part. In fact, maybe the only part. Maybe even staking rewards will be so low that the main, we're going to have to divide it between the contribution proposal system, block producers, which every P-Rep will be some form of block producer in ICON 2.0, relayers, which is going to be for interoperability. Those are going to be fairly cheap to run, so don't need too high of an incentive from our understanding at this point. And then voters, how much of inflation goes to voters. Right now, it's about like 80-ish to 90% goes to voters, and 10 to 20% goes to P-Reps. So when we vote on how to divide ICON 2.0, we have 2 additional buckets. It's not just voters and P-Reps. We'll have to decide altogether how to allocate funding between voters, P-Reps, contribution proposal system, and relayers.
So I'm assuming that there's going to be some proposals that summarize up these options for us that we're going to need to vote on before.
That's right. As we get closer. That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Does anybody else want to bring up anything?
A few questions actually in regards to CPS. I'm actually pretty excited about this CPS because I think that it will resolve a lot of the current issues on the network. I mean that there'll be it will actually realize the actual idea behind ICON, where everybody can contribute, and you have this funding where everything is funded from the actual blockchain, and people can contribute from funds that are coming out of it. So it could expand even faster. So I really like it. The thing that I'm not seeing so far, and correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, I'm not sure whether that's planned ahead or whether that's the whole idea, the whole concept of CPS is already published. I mean, at the moment, I don't see any fraud prevention techniques and any instruments that you can use. And I don't see also the cases in which, in example, you have a large project which could take the funding for half a month that comes from the CPS, and there are a lot of small projects that are just taking out the capability of that project to be funded. So do we have some kind of reserve that we can implement? An example, if we want to approve a larger project, can we reserve some funds in the future? That's actually my question as well.
Yeah, I guess the way that works is that because funding is unpredictable, in theory, the amount of tokens going to the CPS could change if people vote to change it. The way that it works is if somebody approves something that's a 100,000 ICX budget, and just to keep things clear, everything is budgeted in ICX, and you can apply for a budget adjustment request if the price of ICX changes too much during your project. So if it's a 100,000 ICX budget project for 6 months, then the 100,000 ICX is taken out of the CPS as soon as it's approved and set aside to make sure that that project will have it's installments paid. So there's no risk there. And then longer term, we have some ideas about how people can loan money to the CPS and almost essentially like buy bonds from the CPS, something that we're considering, but that's a whole different discussion.
Okay, cool. That sounds good. May I just have two more questions if I'm not taking too much?
Yeah, no, go for it, man. Go for it.
So the first one is, if we're including all P-reps, how, because like in order for you to register a lower P-rep, like as a P-rep, that doesn't take a lot of money or a significant investment. So if anyone can, apply for voting for the CPS, how do we prevent like somebody registering like 20 sub P-reps and voting for that funding and just, actually gaming the system? And also, like, just as a follow-up to my previous question, like in case that we have an example, somebody that wants to do a project for 300,000 ICX and we have 100,000, budget, is there any way to, like, if like the voters approve that, is there a way to, fund that, like with some kind of reserve in the future or something like that?
All right. Let's see, the second question, no, that's not possible, not in the current version. That's something that can be considered for, added features later on to kind of pre-budget, if you will. But yeah, if there's not enough ICX in the fund, then that request is rejected. And in terms of protecting the CPS, there's a minimum registration number of 7. And in terms of like clawing back money, if it proves to be a scam and people vote that it's a scam, the team that sponsored it will lose 10% of the budget. So 100,000 ICX project. If it proves to be a scam, 10,000 ICX will be taken from the sponsor, which has to be staked up front. So there is like a serious like upfront capital requirement by the sponsor P-Rep to get access to the funds. And there's a risk as well. And I mean, yeah, you said it's not that expensive, but I mean, to get into the top 100, just one node costs over $100,000 right now. So if you wanted 20, I mean, that's over $1 million investment you need. So it is fairly secure just from that.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Radio, I see your mic is off.
Yeah, quick question. Does everybody, if you are going to submit a proposal to the CPS, is it mandatory to have a sponsor, or is that only if you're not a P-Rep?
You can self-sponsor, but the sponsorship process is necessary.
Gotcha. Cool.
Which is posting the bond. That's the main piece of it. You're essentially saying that you did due diligence on the project and willing to put money up.
Got it.
In case it's a scam.
Just one more question, if I may.
Yeah,
so, is there any plan in the future? Can we implement something like reserved funds for different activities? I mean, in example, some part of the fund reserved for development, some part of it reserved for marketing, etc. So we don't have an example like 10 marketing projects just taking out the whole CPS and then not having anything for development, an example.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that can be discussed. I also think it's not 100% necessary to do that like in the smart contract, but just have calls like this and discuss on the forum of like where we collectively as a network want to allocate funding. But yeah, you could separate it into different initiatives and say certain things. It's certainly possible.
Possibly just on that. Possibly just if possible to have a dashboard where we have category wise where we are invested in which category, like running projects or whatever is completed.
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that.
All of that information will be available, and people can make aggregators and stuff. At this point, like those are things that are kind of built on top of the CPS, kind of like a CPS tracker.
Okay, Munaya, I see that your mic is off.
Yeah, I have a question for Scott. How much time is given to the when you submit a proposal? How much time do you have before you get an answer? How much time does it take to review the grants or the proposals?
Yes. Yeah, it's everyone's given it's a 15-day rotating cycle, 15 days to apply, 15 days to review, and that cycle just continues.
Okay, and can you also?
It's based on blocks, just for what it's worth.
Oh, okay. And can you submit a revision? Yeah, can you submit a revision request if more info is requested, for example? Like if you submit
I think
and you need more info.
At that point, it's probably going to go to a rejection. There's only 2 options to approve, reject, or abstain. But You know, it's like a small application fee. I think it's like 10 ICX or something like that to submit an application. And then, you know, it's also highly recommended to discuss these things on the forum. There's a section on the forum specifically to discuss contribution proposals. It's mentioned in the guide. And I do believe it's mentioned somewhere on the website, like recommended is to, you know, find a sponsor on the forum, like have like all the preliminary discussions on the forum and at least have an idea that some people are going to vote to approve your proposal prior to submission.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
Awesome.
No problem.
Anybody else have any questions or anything regarding the CPS fund?
Scott, probably I didn't get this correctly. So if I'm, I didn't think it through, probably I missed it in the content. If I am sponsoring, if I'm getting somebody and I'm as a self-sponsor, why would I go through the CPS system? I could self-sponsor separately. Just
because then you only need 10% of the budget. Sponsorship bond is only 10% of the budget.
All right. Okay. Makes sense.
Okay, now I want to transfer over. This is something I wanted to amalgamate. I just wish there was more people here. The idea of grants. Is any team right now planning on any grants for the CPS fund? I saw Ricky post something a couple of I think it was a couple days ago, either in the Icon dev chat or the Icon community chat, where he was saying if we could discuss grant ideas and grant initiatives as the CPS fund comes closer and closer.
I might possibly at some point, not in the immediate future, but maybe over the next couple months, I might be seeking a little bit of funding for a couple of things.
Okay,
but nothing imminently.
Cool. Anybody else before we transfer over? Because I also would like to talk about IISS, and I think an important thing that I wanted to bring, well, both NBlaze and I wanted to bring up is the possible detrimental effect on dApps in regards to increasing fees. And I know that NBlaze brought this to your attention, Scott. So is there a...
Well, hold on a second. Sorry,
sure.
You asked for more. You know.
Sure. I'm sorry.
Me and iBriz will be applying for a CPS grant for the Champions NFT, which is the horses. So that will be happening as well.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Nice, good stuff.
Cool.
We'll be applying for a grant to begin development in interoperability on a couple of chains. So I'm seeing this P-Rep all hands as an opportunity for us to be hopefully relatively transparent with what you're doing and what's going on in your side of the world. I think there's opportunities here, at least I've written a couple notes down, and this is kind of meta, but I think it's appropriate, is that there's opportunities for us to share resources, right? I mean, for example, a cheap example is if one particular P-Rep is going to be focusing on marketing, but they want to leverage other P-Reps to help with that. I mean, that could help substantiate the value of that grant. And so you can get a larger grant, of course, if it's voted on and accepted. So where we have multiple collaborators on marketing. And so I'm not seeing this as an opportunity for us to look at a pie and try to segment out as much of that pie as we can. I really think it's hey, this is money that's going to the P-Rep community. How can we leverage that together? So one of the things that I'm looking forward to, this is number 2, one of the things I'm looking forward to is some semblance of transparency around what you guys are doing so that I know, because for me as an engineer developer, it's not hard for me to programmatically integrate with something that you guys are building if it makes sense to share and if it makes sense to have that data transfer. Since there's been a lot of dApps that have given visualizations and data using the blockchain to the world. Well, I'd like to leverage some of that if it makes sense to do so. And so I think there's more than just, I think the way that I'm coming into this equation as a P-Rep is to obviously help the overall ecosystem of Icon, but the only way that we're going to be successful is not that we're some powerhouse that can build stuff and we have engineering prowess behind us, but rather our success is going to be a function of how much we can integrate with you guys and how much we can network with you guys and leverage what you guys have already built and already substantiated. And so I'm hoping that where there be multiple avenues in which we could co-write a grant proposal. And so I just want to be the first to raise my hand that if you guys would like to leverage what you assume that you can leverage from me and my team, I'd love to be part of it. I'd love to help out. So I just want to make that known and make that clear that my intention, and I'll be fundamentally clear here, but my intention to join these P-Rep all hands is to know what's going on, to know what you guys are up to so that I can help.
Thanks, Peter. Really, really appreciate that. And we should definitely talk about the kind of specifics on the technical side that you're planning for interoperability, because we've made progress with BTP and have kind of a clear direction that we're working towards.
I can't wait to dig into Orbit Bridge. I cannot wait to dig into BTP and Icon 2.0. I mean, if you guys want to give me early access, man, I will read that documentation.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I could send that over to you.
If you guys don't mind, I would also like to be not included, but maybe share some details with, because what we are building right now, we are already preparing for interoperability. We are already working with Icon 2.0, so we won't have any fees in our application. Just preparing for the future, just so we could have the option to expand to other networks as well. So we would love if there's an opportunity for that as well.
Got it. All right. Yeah, I mean, in terms of your application for using tokens from other networks, whatever's supported on Orbit Bridge, you can already incorporate on Icon 2.0 and or on Icon 1.0, and then we can talk offline about the Icon 2.0 stuff. And just yeah, I mean, it's going to be the same general idea. You'll have an IRC2 token that you can interact with. That's going to be an asset from another network.
Sure. Yeah. Of course.
I also wanted to say, Gio, I know your mic is off, so I mean on, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to speak for Tono from Transcranial Solutions on their grant that they're applying for. I know that they can't speak at the moment. They said we'll also be applying for a grant around voting, a place to review icon related things and rewarding ICONists for doing so, and hopefully this will be a package. So, Gio, do you want to say something as well? I saw that your mic was ready to talk.
No, sorry, I'm on my phone and computer, so I have my phone muted, but I forgot to mute the computer.
Okay, no, not a problem. Okay, so I want to also talk about something that I know that the community has been talking about. I know the community has been very vocal about it. I've been very vocal about it. And there's been two, I don't want to say conflicting, I want to say sides of the debate, is the importance of increased communication, increased transparency. And I think Peter hit it right on the nail, that transparency, and this is why having these meetings are so important now going into 2021 with, so many different updates coming on into the Icon ecosystem. I think an improvement of communication between ICONists, P-Reps, the foundation, I think it needs to happen. I think that many ICONists that message me personally and pretty much plead to have a voice, they're not as heard as they want to be. So I think what Peter said earlier, which I'm actually going to write a tweet about this, is having both P-Rep meetings and P-Rep meetings and marketing ICONists meetings. Well, not marketing, but ICONists meetings where community members can come online and speak about their ideas on the project, their constructive feedback. Because I think that's important. I think that this community is a very vocal community, and I think that when people feel silenced, they become very, I think vindictive is too strong of a word, but they become very disgruntled with being silenced. So I think that one thing that I want to speak on behalf of the community is the idea of increased communication between the foundation and the community. Now, I'm not part of the foundation. I know you guys are working tirelessly and endlessly on multiple different projects. So it's, thankfully, it's it's great to see that you guys are not always on Twitter, or you guys are not always on social media, because you guys are hard working and you guys are working on the exterior world as well. And I think that the community just wants to be more in the loop about what exactly is going on. And I know that there's non-disclosure now, NDAs. I know, I'm completely aware of that. But I did want to mention this. I know, Scott, that you are pretty much the link between Foundation, P-Rep, and ICONists. So I wanted to bring that up. And I know one of the important ethoses in the community is marketing. So I do want to discuss that a little bit. I think that marketing, I saw a very good quote, and I think it was from Mark C. of Everstake, that price increase is one of the best forms of marketing. And I absolutely agree with that now that I think about it. But I think with so many different projects and initiatives coming forth with ICON 2.0, with BTP, with the notion of interoperability, which is the exact vision that ICON sought to have and now is delivering on that vision. I think that more communication and marketing is essential. I also think that I know that Coinbase right now, to my knowledge, is not a top priority. And the reason why I bring up Coinbase is because if you're in America, a lot of exchanges are closing their doors to American investors, which I think will unfortunately put a hold on retail investors that are interested in joining the ICON community and joining the ICON ecosystem as investors. For example, me living in New York, I can't even use Binance. I can't use Binance US. And there are a majority of states that can't use that. And I know that we have Thomas McCarthy here, who's a Binance angel as well. So I just wanted to bring that up, that a lot of I think the frustration from the community is that there are a lot of American investors and a lot of individuals from countries that don't have access to ICX, even though ICX has massive amounts of liquidity and market pairs. So I just wanted to bring that up in regards to the importance of marketing, and I want to say more direct communication. And I see that. I see men more active. I see the foundation more active on Twitter. I see a lot of articles coming out on Cointelegraph. I know that Scott is working with someone who reached out to me from Web3 TV. I think I'm pronouncing that properly. And they have shows about blockchain on Newsmax, which is an up and coming, very popular news network, specifically among conservatives in America. So I think that's a very large base. And I just wanted to ask, I wanted to bring up that to the community who is listening to this, that there is marketing happening. There is intricate communications being made behind the scenes. And I just think that the biggest crucial factor of that is making the community know that there is marketing going on, but it's just not being discussed in broad daylight. And I think that may have to change, in my personal opinion. Anybody want to say anything on that? Sure. Munia?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question to everyone that is attending. What is your definition of marketing? Because I see that word is being used quite a lot, and everyone seems to have his own definition of it. So yeah, I was just curious to understand what people understand what people are trying to say when they are speaking out about marketing on social media, about ICON or any other project.
That's
because it's a very broad concept. So yeah, I just want to hear your opinion on it.
Sure. Does anybody want to go first, or do you want me to say something? Because what I just pretty much wanted to say was just marketing is outreach and transparency and networking. And I would say in the most basic of terms. And Dusty, I saw you put your hand up.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Just having some technical issues, but you know, we see marketing all the time, and you know, I think really once you reach a certain critical mass, I would say that other than the absolute new people that are just getting into crypto for the first time, anybody that's been around the scene for a year or two or three has probably heard about ICON. I think we have a lot to overcome come because we went up to 12 or $11 so fast, and then the bear market happened. But I think marketing is really, like she was saying, is so vast of a thing. We do marketing every day. And I think that like Bitcoin and Bitcoin started off without any marketing. It was organic. I mean, and it got up to the point where people got interested in it. Important people then became, I don't know the word, evangelicals for it, and it just kind of took off. And I think Icon will reach this. And I think what you were saying about success of token price will drive that a lot. It's hard to do that in a bear market. It's hard to get people to invest anything in a project that hasn't really proven itself. It's just getting off the ground. And I just think that success is the best marketing that we can do. Success with everything, successful product launches from all of the P-Reps. And that'll be the best marketing. Success is the best marketing that there is, in my opinion.
Peter, Icon Guide Star, I saw your mic turn on.
So you have a hawk's eye. I just did it, and so marketing. I think adding to what everybody promotion, advertising, price, not only price in itself, but overall. I think it's basically remaining relevant in whatever terms necessary. So if you say any product, for example, mobile phones or anything which are brand right now, they still do marketing. There's different levels of marketing. There's mouth to mouth. There's this. So it's a wide range, but to be relevant, to bring out information, like for example, what we from our YouTube videos are trying to do is to explain the newcomers, not the people who know technically, not those people. There's a lot of information there, like Resume is doing. There's a lot of P-Reps are doing it. So there's different level of marketing, and I think it's becoming relevant to all section of the audience you want to reach in any ways possible.
Absolutely. I saw Peter. Brian, you want to say something? I see your mic's on.
Oh yeah, if no one wants to say anything, I have a few comments on this.
Yeah, go for it, please.
So I don't think that if things continue the way they are now, we're going to get much exposure from outside the icon vacuum that I kind of like to call it. I think there are a few different kinds of marketing, and I think the two main kinds where we see a lot of people kind of complain about it is the marketing towards investors. But I think that is certainly important. But I think the more important thing over the next year or two, especially, is marketing to devs, because I don't see a lot of that right now. And I think over the next year or two, it's going to be critical because so many blockchain platforms are at the point of maturation right now where, they're starting to gain like significant mind share in the community of devs. And the longer that kind of marketing is postponed, the harder it's going to be to get devs onto this platform, which I think in the long run is really going to be what makes or breaks the platform. If no one builds stuff on it, it's not going to be really worth a lot, because it's not contributing to a lot of things in the real world if no one builds on it. So I think in terms of marketing towards devs, that's one thing that I'm kind of thinking about, and perhaps we can focus on for this coming year. So like the main thing that comes to mind is just like marketing to people who might not necessarily know about blockchain but can already code, so instead of saying like how to build on the Icon platform, like no one's going to search for that when they're building a blockchain. I mean, when they want to build an app on a blockchain, right? They're probably searching for how to build a blockchain app with Python or something. So if we target like those kinds of search phrases, those kinds of keywords, create content around that, and just happen to use Icon as the
Yeah.
blockchain platform
Yeah.
within that context, to make it super simple to do, step by step. And the thing with Icon, there's a lot of SDKs, there's JS, there's Python, there's going to be Go in the future. There's Java. I'm probably missing a few. I thought Spleen was working on like PHP or something. But there's a lot. So, if there was content created, like, oh, how do you build a blockchain with Cloudflare workers or something on with the JS SDK, that's really specific. But I think that is also going to be what people are searching for. If they already know JS or Python, they're going to search for how to build a blockchain app with this, with whatever code that they know. And I think the more stuff that we can get out there with regard to that, whether it's, just free posts or actually like paid courses that people can do that are produced extremely well, and we put them on the websites, those paid course websites, I think that would be really helpful. And yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. I think investor marketing is important, but within the next year or two, if we can get more people onto the actual platform to build, I think that's even more important.
Okay.
And Blaze, I see that your mic is on, and I see Munia, your sorry, microphone is on. So we'll go and Blaze and Munia, if that's okay with you two.
Of course.
We got Samson Taylor is raising his hand too, so we're gonna get to him.
Sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo something that Brian has actually mentioned in the community forum, because it actually relates to our experience, like building at the moment. Because everybody on the blockchain is pretty busy, we had to hire an outsider in order to be able to, to build our product. So this outsider, he has no experience with Icon, so he had to start from scratch and learn everything on his own. He has experience with other blockchains anyway, so that's not a problem. However, we experienced the exact same issue that you have mentioned, Brian, which is when he started building on it, when he started building on the actual network, he wanted to use testnet, and we had major issues with testnet at the moment. So he had to build his own instance of testnet just in order to be able to test some of the stuff that we're currently building. So I absolutely agree that we have to go this way, but I also agree with you that we have to fix this in order for us to attract developers, because without having a testnet, most of them won't have the opportunity to even test us, to build an app on it. That's what I wanted to mention.
Sorry, I missed a lot of stuff, but I heard you guys are talking about the testnet right now.
Sure. We're talking about pretty much marketing. Brian brought up the importance of marketing to developers, and I wanted to bring up the fact of what Marcus did was very successful. We had that hackathon. It was in August of last year, and it attracted many developers, and I feel like that is how we build. And to add on to to pretty much paraphrase what Brian said, that real world development use case comes with marketing towards devs. And I think that that's a crucial component. And I appreciate what Brian said 100%. I see Brian's mic is on, but I know Munia has been waiting. So Munia, you can go first, then Samson, then Brian, then Thomas, if that's okay.
Okay. I forgot my question.
Okay.
But yeah, okay. Brian, I actually had a question for you, because I totally agree with you. We need more marketing towards developers, but we have actually quite a lot of dev P-Reps within the Icon ecosystem. Would it be an idea if those developers would work together to build a dev-focused marketing initiative? And I think an essential part of that should be making developers outside of the ICON ecosystem aware of the funding opportunities within the ICON ecosystem, like what we have with the CPS, because that's not only for P-Reps or community members, that's actually a funding system for everyone. And I think that should, it would be a great opportunity for all dev P-Reps to, yeah, gather and have their meeting about how can we sell our IDs and skills to other blockchains. So before you can build those bridges with other blockchains, you also need to incentivize people from the Ethereum ecosystem, for example, the developers there, why they should build on ICON as well, because they don't have to pick or choose one of the blockchains. They will pick the one that fits their use case the best, I think. If I am, yeah, I'm not I'm a dev noob, so I'm not sure if I'm I'm right about that. But yeah, I think like we are focusing on investors marketing, and it's a broad subject. So I think with all the P-Reps that we have at this moment, we can actually all focus on our type of marketing and bring out ICON out there. And I think that's actually missing, to be honest, at this moment. That's why I ask you guys what your definition is of marketing. So for me, it's social media awareness, the promotion, advertising, the investors marketing, but it's, yeah, dev focus marketing is as important as what we are doing. But that's something that the developers by themselves should initiate, in my opinion. So yeah, that's it. But I just want to hear your opinion about it. Like, we can talk about it, but how can we solve this issue? Because in the end, we should work towards a real solution towards this quite of a big issue, to be honest. Like, we need more developers.
Yeah, so I have some comments on that, but I think first we wanted Samson to talk. I see he's still raising his hand.
Sure, yeah, Samson, go ahead, man.
Hi, how are you guys? My name's
Hi.
Samson. I'm out of Austin, Texas, kind of the Silicon Valley 2.0 over here. So I am kind of the person who sparked this marketing debate online. And, you know, a lot of people in the community took it in the wrong sense of thinking that, you know, I was speaking about talking about trying to get more investors on hand, which, you know, that doesn't really do much for the price per se. That's just finding people who want to find the next big thing. And to the point that was brought up, I was more along speaking about trying to bring in developers. We know that ICON, as of right now, is built on Python. And, you know, what right now is the largest programming language that's really taking off in data science, big data, machine learning, AI, is Python. There is a plethora of developers out there that we can transition from whatever field they're in over into the blockchain with the language that they already know. And you know, if you take Cosmos, you take Dot, they have weekly code alongs. If you go to their development portals, their portals are very developer friendly. They're very active, and you know, it's just it's a community where they're looking for more and more people to get in. And this is why you see Cosmo and Dot with such a large ecosystem of dApps that are out there. I mean, it's great right now that we're now coming on to the DeFi space, but you know, we're a year behind. And you know, it's still as much as, you know, the teams that we have now are working, all the applications that we've had have been built by a handful of developers, which is no fault of their own. They're doing their best, but we need to start attracting developers into the system by marketing. You know, I've seen too many times Elron and Algo, I think it is, Algo, whatever, I can't remember the exact terminology there. They're always on Twitter with paid advertising, marketing towards developers coming to build on their platforms. that is the marketing that when I speak of is what we should try to be going after. And to do that, there should be, as to someone who pointed out earlier, there should be paid type courses and free courses that, you know, we're actually putting out there for people to, you know, Udemy. If you go to Udemy right now, you type in how to build a Ethereum smart contract, it's there. I wouldn't be surprised if there's, you know, something to do with DOT or Cosmo on there at some point. Someone's going to put that out there. Icon is pretty much in the background, and I know that, you know, we're building, and then we have corporations that have signed on. We have adoption from governments, but those things do not push innovation. They allow for innovation to happen, but, you know, I'm more fearful that these larger blockchains will eventually just take such a large piece of the pie that Icon will kind of get overshadowed in all the hard work that they've been doing, because we have been doing a good job, even as the foundation, to bring in more developers. So that's just pretty much what I had to say on that. And I was the one who kind of sparked that idea about marketing, but it was, again, bringing in developers. And how do we do that is make it more developer friendly. We need more videos. We need more things to be out there active. You can't even Google or YouTube someone doing anything with Icon on YouTube, like how to learn. We just need that out there much, much more. So that was a great hit.
Absolutely.
All right, so just to confirm, the suggestion is paid Twitter advertising to blockchain developers and online tutorials with video of how to build on Icon, right?
Well, you know, it doesn't have to necessarily pay. I was just bringing that up because that literally, I've seen that everywhere. And look at Algo and Elron. They're skyrocketing. People are wanting to get in. It's more for me. I was more impressed with, if you go to especially Cosmo and Dot's developer portals, it's clean. There's video. There's weekly code alongs. There's people, you know, it's active. It's very active. If someone has a problem, they can go to a specific spot and ask a lot of questions. If you go to the Icon developer portal, I mean, there's a few questions and most of them are a year or two old. So, you know, the active community, the buzz is not there with Icons. As great as it is, I'm a ICO holder. I've been actually learning code to participate myself, not just be an investor. But for the rest of the team, I just saw a tweet a day or two ago of some prominent ICONists that said they spoke with someone who's well connected in South Korea. And South Korea is very excited about blockchain and cryptocurrency. And that individual was very surprised to hear about Icon. Now, that kind of worries me a little bit if someone who's well connected is telling someone that, you know, everyone is very excited about blockchain, but they don't know anything about Icon. Which other platforms are they looking at? More than likely, they're going to build on Ethereum. More than likely, they're talking about DOT or Cosmo. That is what I'm saying that needs to change. And the way to do that is to start bringing products out hand over fist. You look almost every day and there's another DOT project popping up. Why? Because they have such a large following of developers trying out things, and it's just a better community in a sense. Not that we're not trying, but the focus needs to be bringing that in and making it more friendly to developers and letting them know. Like I said, Python is probably the largest programming language as of right now because of other industries. We have a lot of resources there that we can take and bring them over to the blockchain. So,
Hey, just as a follow-up, if you could send me the developer portals that you would like Icon's developer portal modeled after, I think that'd be helpful.
Yep, for sure. Who was that?
That was Scott.
Scott, okay.
From ICX Station, Benny Options, and the admin in the Telegram room and elsewhere.
Okay.
All right, I just wanted to share a few more thoughts, and then I have to go eat breakfast. But thank you to Munia and Samson for all of those thoughts. There's a lot of stuff to respond to, so just give me a second to gather my thoughts. It's still a bit early here. So I think the most important priority before we even talk about like rebuilding the developer docs or like the portals and stuff, is just making sure that developing on Icon is actually a great experience. And right now, you know, as NBlaze has mentioned, it's really not. And there's so many blockchain platforms out there right now where like they do as much as they can to reduce the friction as much as possible. So like in terms of practical things, that's making sure testnet is always up, and there's like not really any, it should be as stable, if not more stable than the main net. You know, it should be as stable. It shouldn't go down often. And you know, as we've seen on Icon, that hasn't been the case, but Bong has told me that they're working to improve that. So this idea of ensuring the experience is like the initial experience is as good as possible, I would say is like the most important thing. So
Totally agree.
making sure the testnet is working and making sure all of the docs are formatted as much as possible. I mean, not as much as possible, as good as possible, making sure they're always updated and they're simple to read and make sense. So if we have like that baseline, then we kind of cancel out the chance that someone comes and builds on the platform, but then gets frustrated and then moves somewhere else. So I think a trend that I'm seeing, most of the devs on Icon right now are kind of financially invested in the project, which is not where we want to be in the long term. Because when you're kind of incentivized to build on this platform, you don't have the same perspective as someone who just wants to build on a blockchain, because you know your frustrations and stuff might be subsidized by the fact that you're invested in the platform. So we want to get the platform to a place where it's actually like a world-class experience for people to build on. And going to Munia's point about the CPS, I think that's a great tool slash tactic to get people to come, you know, as kind of, you know, like I don't know the word for it, but to get people interested, to like get people to come over. It's kind of like a free trial of sorts. You know, you pay them to come try it out. But if they're frustrated, when they come, and even if they get paid whatever, it doesn't necessarily mean they might stay, because there's a lot of devs out there who do it for the passion, not for the money. And that's how a lot of like the biggest brands that we see, you know, Facebook, all of these big tech companies that we know now, it was initially a project of passion, not necessarily a project of like making a lot of money or whatever. So I think there's that as well. And the last thing that I wanted to mention is some additional ideas about, you know, how to leverage the existing devs in the community to, you know, to build some content related things. Where last year I actually tried to do something like this, where I wanted to make a website that had a bunch of like essentially code samples. Then you can kind of click in between to select between Python, JS, you know, all of these different SDKs. So that's kind of like a great foundation for someone who, like, maybe if they want to learn how to timestamp something on the blockchain and they want to select it in Python, they can just view this code. And, you know, I don't think that really ended up working as much as I thought it would, because, you know, I feel like I'm someone who kind of knows how to code, and I just couldn't really execute on that, because I think a lot of the people who I reached out to, they were also busy working on their own stuff, and it just ended up kind of falling apart. And I would say like that's probably my fault for not pushing ahead. But I think if we can really get a few devs who want to do something to contribute to the content side and are willing to put, I don't know, 8 to 10 hours a week to work on something, I think we could really make something cool out of this. And it would be mainly like targeting kind of keywords and kind of people searching, like not necessarily how to build on the icon platform. Like I said before, you know, like if people want to search for how to get started with blockchain on Python, and then they see our course, they see our post, and then within that post, it just happens to be this blockchain, you know, I feel like we don't have to actually do like paid advertising and say like, come build on the icon blockchain, you know, like it could be more like, oh, do you know Python? Come learn how to build blockchain. So something like along those lines would be great. But yeah, I think like the main priority is just getting getting the developer experience of Icon to a point where it's kind of in line with what people perceive Icon as. So as I forgot who it was, I think Samson said it, you know, we have a lot of enterprises on the blockchain, the government as well. And there's this kind of like contrast that I see where people may ask like, why are the governments on this blockchain, but their testnet is down all the time? So this kind of contrast leads to this sense of like, what's really going on here? And the more we can do to kind of, you know, throw that kind of stuff away, that would be great. Any thoughts?
Thomas, I know you wanted to say something.
Yeah, so I just want to continue talking about the subject of dApps. So I'm an ICONist and I'm an active dApp user on, you know, multiple blockchains. And, you know, I'm really excited for the balanced project on Icon, but that's one thing I've noticed that can be improved on Icon because, you know, as an Iconist, my main interactions with Icon is, you know, voting and staking, which is great. But I think where we can see a lot of like organic growth is dApps. You know, because especially with the explosion of DeFi, you know, it's just, you know, organic growth of just people recommending it to other people. And then these dApps just see massive amounts of growth. And to me, you know, when I'm explaining blockchain to like, you know, a lot of my friends, when I bring up the subject of Icon, it's just, you know, staking, whereas, you know, in other ones, you know, they're having games, they're having DeFi. So, you know, and, you know, I am a huge supporter of Icon and, you know, I want to spend more time on the Icon blockchain. But I just want to stress as an Iconist, I'm mainly just, you know, staking and voting. And so I think it's critical that dApps, you know, get built so that, you know, people like me who aren't, you know, necessarily on the P-Rep side, I can use the Icon network more often instead of, you know, just doing, you know, my weekly, you know, staking and voting.
I couldn't agree more, Thomas. That's an absolutely great point. I 100%.
Corey, I forgot to mention one more thing. I'm sorry.
Sure, you know, no, not a problem. Please, man. I'm just here to moderate pretty much.
Yeah, I saw you mentioned the hackathon a while back, and
Yes.
I think stuff like that is needed as well. But I think the distinction there is hackathon is kind of a way of active marketing, and I think what we're missing now is more of the passive side, where if someone is just trying to search for something, they should either find Icon or they should be able to watch something about how to build on this platform. So I think like the hackathons are great, of course, but after that ends, you know, what is still the reality, I guess, is that, you know, there's still not like a lot of posts, not a lot of content about how to build on Icon. So I think if we can execute on both the passive side and the active side, it would be great for the growth of the project.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brian, for your thoughts. I saw Gio's mic was on, then Munia's, and then Blaze.
So, not that I have a lot of experience with developing for Icon or anything. That's a joke, obviously.
I know.
put myself through the rings, if you want to call it, or ringers, if you want to, I forget the expression, but I taught myself how to program for ICON. I'm a Python developer, Java, C#, everything, but you know, I had someone helping me, and even with someone helping me, you know, and I've talked about this before in the past podcasts, or not the podcast, but the group P-Rep meetings as well, is, you know, it is very difficult to onboard into the ICON development process. You know, and then there's the whole unfortunateness of the reason, you know, we've had people attempt, you know, just like Brian, and I know Ibris has done it as well, where they, you know, I know Corey was even working with people to set up ODI, Open Dev Icon. And so there was a lot of these initiatives, but, you know, it's hard to continue to work on something voluntarily when you're either getting paid to work on something else, or you're working on something else that's going to get you paid. And, you know, I hate to say it that way, but that's just the honest truth, especially in these hard times. Most of us are
ODI
here.
was a grant, just to point that out there.
What? Okay, well.
ODI was a paid grant, yep.
I mean, I know that team personally. I know they're swamped with a lot of other stuff as well, because some of them working on my stuff as well, along with, you know, your stuff. And I mean, it's just, it's 100% true. We don't have enough devs on ICON. So that definitely is one of those things where, you know, we do need to focus on, you know, making it easier, you know, and there were some great ideas of, and I know there was one for Ethereum, I believe it's called, it was like a zombie thing where it took you through a tutorial on how to build a zombie NFT game. And so if we had some like tutorial like structures for how to program scores, you know, do this step, do that step.
So devblockchain.tech was supposed to be a crypto zombies for ICON. That was the grant that Sharpen was awarded. It was the second grant ever. And it's live.
I mean, I can't speak to any of that, unfortunately. I didn't even know that. I might have heard of that. I'm not sure, but it just doesn't come to the top of my head. But that says a lot too, right? That nothing has either come of it or what, you know. So yeah, I mean, the ball for developers, and you know, I'm not, you know, saying that this doesn't affect me or doesn't apply to me as well, because it does, because I'm focused on my own project. You know, I try to help out people, you know, here and there. Like, you know, I've tried to help Dusty every now and again with some of his, you know, Python score stuff, and anyone else who reaches out to me. I've tried to get developers, like literally I've talked to 3 different people, and then eventually it all ends up to, oh, I got too much time working on my own job that I can't focus on this. And it's frustrating, and it's not you know, not necessarily anyone's specific fault. So yeah, I mean, having more developer friendly stuff up, you know, would be great. I think that would help a lot, but I don't really know if that would, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that would really start bringing developers to ICON, and maybe that's something we really need to think about more of, is, you know, would just making it easier to learn how to program for ICON really bring people? Because, you know, with ICON Bet, we really have tried to market outside of ICON, and like someone mentioned it's called the ICON Vortex or something like that, where, you know, they really just, it doesn't, you can't escape the ICON environment. You can't bring anyone else out from the outside, and it's extremely hard to do that. And so I think that's more of what we need to focus on, rather than, you know, I don't know. I mean, you know, I struggle to even consider what could possibly help us, because, you know, I hate to say, oh yes, build this whole thing where it makes it easier to learn how to program, blah, blah, blah. And then we get that up and running, and, you know, no one uses it for a year, you know, and that's what I would hate to have do, is a lot of work go into something, and that maybe isn't the issue that we're, you know, we need to address.
Munia, you want to say something? I see your mic has been on.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a question or just a comment, but yeah, I think Geodude is right. It's great to start with developer-friendly content, of course. I think that's a priority to have it out there. But the second step is, of course, how can you bring it to developers outside of the icon community? Because in the end, we want to make sure that the developers community grows further. And my question is, we have a lot of developers in the icon community, but have these developers also contact or relationships or networks outside of icon with other developer communities? Like, in the end, you need to create those bridges. You need to get in touch with other developers to talk about what we are doing on the developer side. I'm not sure if I'm explaining it right, but I think it's also a responsibility from the developers themselves to go out there and yeah, in these times it's quite hard because we're in, of course, all in lockdown. But yeah, developer focused events, workshop, etc. And I'm not sure if that's only the responsibility of the Icon Foundation, but from all the peer reps out there that are also developer focused. Instead of only focusing on building that use case, another thing should be to bring that content out there and to learn others to build on Icon. But that needs time, and time is money, unfortunately.
Absolutely. And Blaze, did you want to say something? Then I see Dusty.
Yeah, I actually wanted to raise a topic which is, I think, connected to what we're currently discussing, because at the moment, like, if we attract developers, I think that we will need to have a certain strategy on what kind of apps are we aiming to attract. I mean, whether it would be a DeFi apps or whether it would be games or, you know, anything that we can get our hands on. So why am I raising this at all? There was actually something that we have discussed with Scott like approximately a month ago. And I know that we'll discuss that when Icon 2.0 is closer, but I really think that in case that we are aiming to like attract developers, we should know what kind of developers and what kind of apps are we actually attracting. So what I actually think matters a lot for that is the fees that we are planning for the network, whether they'll be higher, whether they'll be lower, whether we'll try to attract, you know, if they're low fees, an example, we can attract a lot of applications from the other networks. But if they're high, an example, we can only attract the applications that are more focused on, an example, DeFi, something like that, which is not very complex, which is like, it requires a transaction every day, every hour, anything like that. It doesn't require, like, every transaction made actually relates to money being transferred. So I'm saying that because we are currently developing an application, as you guys know, and in this application, like an example, for one match, sometimes we have like around 20 transactions related to that. Like for one monetary transaction, we have like 20 icon related transactions that are, you know, related to that because we have a complex system like behind that. So that means that with our commission, we are aiming to get our commission like as low as possible because we want to attract, you know, a lot of people, a lot of transactions, a lot of players. In order for us to do so, though, we are also aiming to expand to the other networks. We are trying to secure that. So when we are trying to secure that, that means that we'll have to cover the fees on our actual application because we cannot expect to expand, in example, to Cosmos or Ethereum or anything like that, and for these people to own ICX in order to cover the transactions. So the transactions have to be covered by us. So that means that with our limited commission, if we have to take care of the fees, if the fees are larger, that means that we'll have to either restructure our whole system or just to, you know, be at a loss, which is not perfect, of course. And that's what I'm saying. I believe that we need to have like a solid strategy on where Icon is supposed to go. Like it's not a bad way, like either way, like we just have to decide that. But we have to decide on what kind of applications are we aiming to attract, and just better early than late, just decide on like what will be our strategy in regards to the fees, in example.
Dusty, if you want to say something, and then Scott, I'd like to hear your thoughts on NBlaze's thoughts on increased fees or the fee paradigm. So Dusty?
Sure. Well, the thing about the developers and getting developers is it's hard to recruit out. I put ads out on developer forums for a game, kind of like Myst, except you're solving puzzles, clocks, and then you earn icon in a real world game. Pretty much that kind of stuff is easy to deploy. It's the icon backend stuff that's difficult. And I mean, I was offering to pay up to $10,000 to develop it, and I never got anybody on any of these developer hiring portals to even take the bait. I think if we really want to, it's something that Scott's really been working on. The foundation's been behind for at least, well, at least I know ever since he made the post on the community forums, is once we have Ethereum virtual machine, then any developer that develops on Ethereum can come right over and develop on Icon and leverage all of Icon's strengths, which are super fast transactions, super affordable transactions with low fees, and basically use the same code and all of that knowledge base that Ethereum has on Icon. And I think that as soon as we get that implemented, and I know Scott's working on it, I'm hopeful for it, that you'll see developers really start onboarding the Icon. And that's really all I wanted to say. I wanted to thank Scott for all of his work on that. And that's what really excites me as far as really attracting a lot of developers. I think that's what Polkadot does. I don't know, is you can pretty much use the same type code, and it's basically just code it and go, just like you would on Ethereum, and that knowledge base. And there's a lot of Ethereum developers. And so that's all I wanted to say. I think we can really attract and push that once we finalize, or once Scott and the foundation finalize whatever path they're going to take. And that will really give a big welcome door for developers to come on with an extensive knowledge base on how to build dApps of all sorts and sizes on Icon. That's all I wanted to say.
Absolutely. Scott, do you want to comment on the notion of fees? Scott?
Yeah, sure. Yep, I'm here. Yeah, so in terms of fees, I mean, I spoke to Enblaze about this before. It's not like anyone's trying to run them off the network. I think it's kind of cross that bridge when we get there kind of thing. We're not going to be adjusting fees or even talking about it until Icon 2.0 launches. So we can cross that bridge there. It'll be a decentralized vote. So it'll be, well, I'm sure everything will be considered. Everything will be talked about on the forum, and we can go from there on the transaction fee side of things. And then in terms of, let's see, there's a couple of things. Reaching other communities, which you guys talked about. I think it's important to partner outside of the Icon blockchain or Icon ecosystem, things such as like the collaboration with Band that gives more cross promotion opportunities to other altcoin holders. So when Icon makes an accomplishment, Band can promote it and vice versa. Looking into more opportunities like that through what Dusty was talking about, with working, with other ecosystems. And that use case becomes much clearer now that we have BTP, and it's much easier to do business development, talk about tangible partnership opportunities using interoperability as the way to work together to bridge both networks. Where we had, I tweeted about this the other day about cross-network interest rate arbitrage opportunities, cross-network trading opportunities. Maybe you can lend ICX on, a Polkadot parachain at 8%, and maybe you can borrow it on Icon at 5%. Those are types of examples of like clear collaboration opportunities with other networks to kind of grow Icon's community that I'm working towards right now. And then another thing in terms of attracting developers, maybe this might be an unpopular opinion, but I do think that there is an attraction to success, right? If there weren't any users and no total value locked in these Ethereum DeFi projects, I don't think they'd be getting as much success and wouldn't be talked about as much. If You're in Finance didn't have much TVL and the token totally flopped at launch, I don't think it'd be getting as much attention. So when people see that there's an opportunity to grow a massive project and a massive community and see the opportunity to make money within your network by building on it, I think that attracts more people. When you look at IconBet, I mean, there's a lot of community developers involved once the platform was built. And then once what's it called? Balanced is launched and OMM is launched and other DeFi products, and people see that there's opportunity and there's users here and that money will get deposited into their apps. I think that's what can help get more developers, but definitely need to do more than just that. There's been some good suggestions on the calls today, but just wanted to share what we've been working towards and the mentality that I have about it.
Absolutely. I just want to, I know, because I know it's very late for some of you. I just want to wrap up. I see Geodude. I know that Samson, your hand has been up. And I do want to just say what Thomas said in the chat. He just said, from the user side, I'm willing to pay higher fees, but there needs to be a financial incentive with hopes of future rewards like in DeFi. Lower fees allow to submit more transactions without worry. This can be good for gaming and social dApps. So I just wanted to bring that up. Samson, I see your hand is up, and then we'll go to Geo, and then we'll end the meeting with any final comments. Because again, I know it's late for a lot of you, and I appreciate your guys' time, seriously.
Yeah, no, I'll just make it quick. So it does sound like there is some cleanup work that needs to be done with the onboarding process with the code of ICON, and obviously the 2.0 is coming. And it sounds like there's also been efforts in the past to actually create developer-friendly resources. What I think is very vital and important when maybe all of this is cleared up is that messaging, pretty much all hands on deck call to come to ICON to develop needs to come from the foundation. It needs to come from the Twitter page of ICON. You know, and no disrespect to any of the P-Reps or anything of that nature. When you see some of the successful platforms reach out, they're not reaching out through one of their developer subsidiaries. It's from their actual foundation page. I feel the foundation, when they're ready and when they feel that everything is in line, this messaging needs to come from the foundation that we're ready for developers to come in. That's just my only thing. I've seen that we've had a lot of people try to do certain things and it's kind of fall off the wayside. I think it carry a little bit heavier clout from the actual builders of the platform themselves to call for developers to come in. So that's all I have.
Awesome. Geo, do you want to say something before we wrap up?
Yeah, I want to make a quick comment, sort of a praise on ICON, if you will. If you've noticed, you know, we talk about Ethereum, we talk about other things, you know, a lot of those have scam projects, exit scams, all this kind of stuff. You know, ICON doesn't. And you know, it is because a lot of the code is maintained, is audited, is reviewed, all this kind of stuff. And we have good, passionate developers who actually want to be here to program. And that's what, you know, I know Scott has said this before as well. And, you know, that's what we really need to find is those passionate people, not the people just looking to turn a quick buck. Because those are the people that are going to come in, and those are the people that are going to literally try to scam ICONists out of their money to exit scam on their project or to create some kind of dApp that's going to, you know, get a lot of money and then boom, they just go away. You know, all those things happen in these other chains, you know, and in the terms of millions of dollars, not just, you know, maybe a couple hundred, you know, or 1,000. I mean, it's insane, some of these exit scams that happen. So, I mean, take that to heart that, you know, ICON, you know, may be small, but it is a group of dedicated, passionate people who are building for ICON, for the betterment of ICON and all this kind of stuff. So,
absolutely. Does anybody have any final thoughts? I think this was a very, as much as there weren't as many P-Reps that I expected, I think this was a very, very productive meeting. Someone posted on Twitter, David defeated Goliath, even though he was much smaller, and we had a small group here, but we had a very, very productive meeting. I think that the next meeting we should have, I think we should do this maybe monthly. I don't want to take away anybody's time. I'm also going to plan on having separate ICONist meetings. And I think the next topic we should talk about are releases that are coming up, the intricacies of those releases, and possibly talking about Rosetta and the road to that implementation, how that can benefit exchange listings. So I know that's another question that the community would like to hear. So I think that's enough for today. I really appreciate all your time, especially those in Europe and Asia right now. I know it's incredibly late. So I want to thank all of you, and it's a pleasure meeting the people that I haven't met formally yet, like Thomas, like Munia, Samson, and thank you so much, guys. This was a very productive meeting.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everybody.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Corey. Thank you all. Bye.
Bye.